Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my Eiyuden Chronicle Rising perspective. And I played this a little bit first on Xbox Game Pass a while ago, but then I played it through on Steam on PC, and I actually really enjoyed it. It's a strange little game. There was this spiritual successor that they're trying to do for the Suikoden? I'm probably mispronouncing that, but series, and that was like Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. This kind of came out before because that was kind of a Kickstarter one, and this was kind of like a tease thing, and I actually really enjoyed it. I didn't really peg it as a kind of Metroidvania kind of one until I was like looking at the wiki, and I was like, oh yeah, it really kind of is. And I actually enjoyed this more than Bloodstained. Bloodstained got all of the kind of gameplay down pat, but the story is what was kind of my issue with that one. This one was the opposite. The gameplay was kind of, it's not completely simplistic, but it's a simple kind of one instead of getting overtly completely complex to the point where you're like, okay, you do a little bit of farming and grinding and everything, but it kind of comes pretty much naturally. I pretty much got all the achievements on it fairly easily, and anything I had to do like on hard difficulty was like towards the end, where you like beat the game, you got all this stuff, you get all your gear and everything, and you're like, yeah, badass, crack that shit. And even though there were certain kind of farming things that were going on, it didn't feel like it overstayed its welcome for me. It took me about like 20 hours for this to get everything kind of completed, but you could just kind of like bum rush and do some crazy stuff because the core concept of the story is interesting, though we will get into like the side quest pretty much being really kind of stupid. Like I wish they had just like kind of pretty much cut those entirely. It's just kind of filler kind of things or other kind of avenues to get your resources and materials. It mainly kind of does copy and pasting of certain kind of things. It doesn't get a higher kind of knock on me from me because there's less friction in how you kind of do your fast traveling, so you can zip around the areas pretty easily enough. However, you do have to do certain kind of things in that fast traveling that I wish they really hadn't had to do, because you have to go to a certain kind of place, get into it, and then you can fast travel around through that. So that's kind of the extent of like my negatives. Otherwise, I think it does a very good job of like giving you an understanding of the world and getting you into the characters and their motivations of what's kind of going on. Now, can you see most of the stuff coming a mile away if you've been introduced to these kind of tropes and everything before? Sure. You're introduced to CJ, who's the kind of teen who's like, alright, I'm going to go find this treasure and stuff because this is her rite of passage. And by the way, finding out at the end of the story that CJ stands for Crown Jewel because all of her family is named after kind of like treasure and shit. Like her dad's name is Gold Digger. It's like, ha ha! That was kind of crazy. But she's got pretty much these pickaxes and stuff, and you pretty much are introduced with her kind of going through. She wants to find like this biggest kind of treasure, a bigger kind of lens, and rune lenses are how you utilize magic in this world. That becomes important later on because it ties into our next character, Aisha. I am in the wrong thing. Come on, Wiki, tell me shit. No, that ain't right. Yeah, and Garu. Well, she's pretty much taken over as mayor, and, let me see. Aisha, yeah. Because her father's, like, disappeared because they, like, went into these barrow ruins because there was a giant kind of earthquake, and she's pretty much tried to use the adventures there and doing all these kind of taxing and things, but she's like a 16-year-old girl as well and is attempting to hold this place all together. The old people are just being a bunch of cantankerous assholes, well, mainly one in particular, who then is like, yeah, become your friends. I'm friends with you guys. And I do like that they do this dichotomy of like the town residents and these outlanders. But the great thing about this game is showing them working together at the end and coming together as a community to fight everything that's kind of like going on. We also get the rumblings of like other kind of political intrigue with like this Margrave and this Empire who's got this one character, Mighty Ducks. I'm just like, DUX. I'm like, okay, I gotta see what's going fucking on here. This really actually made me like, all right, I kind of want to see what's happening with the rest of this kind of story and what they're doing with these characters with the next one. So this really did a good job of like amping that up. But you go through like this forest, ice level, lava level, a rock kind of level as well. Same kind of biomes. You get certain kind of boss battles there, like a tree, a golem, ice blizzard monster puppet things, and this lava kind of monster at the end before you then start going for the actual villain. Because you're like, what's going on here? We got these bandits going around stealing shit from people. Garu kind of looks, and the bandits are kind of like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? And Garu's able to kind of talk to them as we learn that he's kind of the mercenary, but he's not the mercenary that we think. He teams up with CJ and is attempting to find like other kind of lenses and stuff like that. And we learn that Aisha can perform magic without a lens, but that is not entirely the case. I'm like, oh, she's probably got one inside of her, doesn't she? And we get introduced to the town lore. There's a sorcerer sealed in the barrows who was pretty much using experiments first on creatures to create lenses, but then did it on people. And the people that he did that to were like, fuck you, asshole, and fucking cracked his ass. And of course, the curse/blessing of the town is that every so often he pretty much left this thing on auto repeat, trying to do this kind of thing to create more and more powerful lenses and shit. And he pretty much takes over Aisha's father's body and is attempting to like pretty much become a power hungry asshole. That's the kind of final boss that we deal with as we get a 2-phase thing at the end. Now, we are able to switch between these three characters as we're doing combat. I usually stuck with CJ most of the time because you then also get introduced to these kind of runes that you can put on for like different kind of elements. You mainly do need to utilize that. However, it's not as big of a deal as it probably should have been. I mean, it does help out on certain kind of bosses and everything, and making sure that you've got your gears optimized as possible and highest level as possible. But you won't really screw yourself over, I don't think, that much if you don't interact with the system as they probably wanted you to. I kind of just fell into it as I could, even though I was utilizing a walkthrough to go throughout. The side quests were the pretty much filler kind of thing of like, if this was like a stretch goal, they could have just been done out and be done with it. Burn. Sorry about that. I just had this kind of like burn that I accidentally got today. But I've seen worse kind of side quests. This at least gives you story about certain kind of characters and gives you a little bit more and value add for the characters that live around the town. Also, doing kind of cooking was just randomly in there. I'm like, not everything needs a cooking minigame. Not everything needs building and crafting and everything like that. Though it's not as bad in this game as in certain kind of other games where it's like, I don't want to fucking deal with this kind of system. Even though I'm in an RPG, there's certain kind of RPGs that I just want to do certain kind of things with. Like Dragon Quest. My main objective is to go around with my party, learn the story, interact with combat and stuff. If the other stuff is like value add and I don't have to get too involved in it, cool. If you make that a central pillar in the game, it needs to be as frictionless as possible. Otherwise, why didn't you just make a cooking or resource management game? Why are you just like loading this up into my RPG? That's kind of the thing that happens in like the Like a Dragon / Yakuza series, where you've got a whole ass fucking simulator that you have to deal with sometimes to even just kind of progress the story. But you're like, I just want to do this. I mean, if it was more just value add and you just lightly dipped your toes, then sure. But most of the time, you have to do stuff for certain kind of good shit for your shit going on. Otherwise, you get screwed. That doesn't happen here. It's more kind of surface level kind of thing where it's like, okay, this helps out, but you don't have to take a lot of time to actively like plummet and be like, I'm playing a very different game than the game that I want to play. This, I think they did a pretty good job of balancing all that kind of stuff, and that's a rare thing to kind of say, especially with a weird ass prequel ass thing that was like a stretch goal. So if you're into the Eiyuden kind of series, you probably would have started with this first, but I would still kind of recommend this, especially with how it is as a Metroid game, Metroid kind of Vania. It's pretty basic in how the gameplay works out, but it actually keeps that gameplay pretty well. Because I played it with a controller. Each face button kind of controlled a different kind of character, so I'd be doing CJ most of the time. Then I would need to switch to Garu to like deflect and do certain kind of shit, and then switch to Aisha to do her kind of magic. And it was kind of cool to kind of balance those three out like that. Then, of course, we get their story, Aisha learning she's got a fucking lens inside of her, and at the end, CJ being like, yeah, I'm going to help your ass get that shit out. Garu actually being with the Empire kind of forces, trying to get the primordial lens and turning turncoat at the end, because fuck those assholes, even though he was trying to save his daughter's life, who was very sick, and, not completely save, but make her last kind of moment, or last remnants of life bearable. Even though CJ's like, we'll find a way to like save her ass and shit. So at the end, he goes to kind of get his daughter. And it just works out. Even though it goes within the tropes that usually kind of pop up and you can pretty much see where the story's kind of going, it does it and executes it pretty well enough in its own kind of way that I don't mind that. And I got sucked in with the characters. I'm like, she's going to have a thing inside of her, isn't she? And it's like, shit, that fucking sucks. And then seeing CJ like, I'm not letting you die, damn it. I'm gonna fucking help you as much as possible. Same with Garu and getting from the gold kind of dude, mercenary who was actually doing it to try and help his daughter, to doing what was right and still getting kind of rewarded, and seeing how the town kind of grew and prospered. That's another kind of cool thing. You actually see the repercussions of your actions of building up the town, going through the side quests, building up all this stuff for these people, and it's cool. That's the kind of stuff you want in a game. And it didn't overstay its welcome for me. I think 20 hours is about a kind of long enough kind of thing where it's not like too short and not too long. You could shorten that if you want. You could lengthen that of just playing and be like, I'm going to push in a lot of shit and I'm going to finish all this and continue the kind of repeatable side quests or whatnot. But it's really kind of rare for me to be like, yeah, this hit that kind of sweet spot. Sometimes games seem to just be completely overly bloated, or sometimes it's like, this is a really kind of short fucking thing. What was your objective with this? This, I think, achieved that in a pretty well done way of getting people to understand the world, kind of introduce some kind of lore stuff before dropping in the 100 heroes kind of stuff and what was kind of going on there. So I am looking forward to it a certain kind of point, checking into that one as well. I do know that that's more turn-based, which I'm fine with. I love turn-based combat. I like the kind of action combat here as well. I'll see what that kind of works out. I would definitely recommend this. Definitely could be done. Anybody that's kind of like into JRPGs and kind of Metroidvanias, I think would work out well with this. I think this would be a very good one to introduce younger kind of gamers to the Metroidvania kind of genre, understanding of a certain kind of JRPG tropes. Honestly, I think this would be a really good starter one for someone. Just to kind of get the hang of what's kind of going on. It's not completely and utterly dark, except for like a sorcerer possessing a body of someone and using experimentation and shit. But I mean, it's not blood, guts, and gore all the time, swearing at the ass, and naked people flying around anywhere, any which way, and Lou's being like, ooh! It's like, oh god, no! Depending upon what you think, I think this would be a very good game to introduce people to gaming, young and old, and to certain kind of genres. I didn't even really think about that before I started doing this perspective, but not just would I recommend this as a game in and of itself, but for other kind of objectives as well. Introducing you to the series that it's doing, and introducing it to genres like this. Definitely check it out on any kind of system you've got. Just because I did it on PC, doesn't mean it's just on PC. It's on it's on Switch, PlayStation 4 and 5, Windows, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S. This came out in 2022. Look for it on sale. I think if you got if you're like, I kind of need a game or something like that, definitely worth about like $20 or so. I don't know what it is price wise at the moment. Let me check that. I don't know if it's on sale right now or not. Oh, it actually is on sale at the moment. No, it was. It's usually like that's funny. It's normally like $14.99. I must have gotten it for a really good deal or whatnot. Because 100 Heroes Standard Edition at the moment is $50. But there's like certain kind of bundles or whatnot. Definitely if you could get it for like, of course, the $14.99 or even kind of cheaper or whatnot, I think you definitely get your money's worth out of it. I'd say I got my money's worth, and I got to learn about these characters and have a pretty good time with it. I don't go completely and utterly 2 thumbs up because of certain kind of repeating with like the side quest. I think the side quest just really padded this out a lot more than it needed to be, and that there could have been other stuff done within the main story itself to just kind of make it a kind of longer experience rather than doing kind of padding like this for what was kind of going on. Maybe streamline certain kind of systems, make the fast travel a little bit better. I don't know how this completely and utterly links up with 100 Heroes, but I'll play 100 Heroes and kind of see that for myself. But yeah, this one's an easy one to recommend. It executes what it attempts to do very kind of well. So those are my opinions on the game. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.